Hello and welcome back to the Smoke Room. We'll be continuing where we left off in Murdoch's route. So, if you recall, basically, this is the day, I believe, before the wedding, and it should be the bachelor party of Jim. So, yeah. Um, in the previous episode, I believe her name is Blythe. One of her friends found a note, a mysterious note in her house that was directing her towards the mines, and it was supposedly from one of Blythe and her's friends. Well, I want to say friend, but I don't really remember. um, but this friend was supposedly being stalked by someone else, and this girl reasoned that, well, perhaps this girl left her a note, telling her, like, meet me at the mines, I'm hiding over there, to try to get away from my stalker. And as all horror genre girls do, well, not all of them, some of them are a little bit smarter, but as some people in horror movies do, they go alone to, try to see if they can help this individual. And lo and behold, it was not them. The girl encountered, well, no, she found the body of the girl that she was trying to help, and I believe in Nikolai's route, you will find that very same body in the mines where the gold is held. And of course, that means that a certain monster of the arachnoid persuasion is around there, so it finds the girl. However, it is not known if the monster is able to get her or if she is still out of its reach for now. Blythe and Samuel, however, both dream of this, and Blythe decides to basically go and help her friend. And I believe she also tries to enlist the help of Sam, so we'll see if that, if he is able to help or not. Hopefully he is, but we'll have to see. But yeah. So, there's a lot of things going on. Also, I believe that this is the official start of Murdoch's Chapter 3. Like, this is when things are starting to start, I guess. Yeah. I believe that puts everyone at their Chapter 3. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember what George had told me. Or had said. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, without further ado, let us continue Murdoch's route. I crack the door just a bit and look past the crack. Who's there? What do you mean, who's there? The anticipated party. I can hear Jim's tail lashing just from the tone of his voice. Is everything all right over there? I hear a man's voice that I've never heard before. Jim? Then another. I should hope so. Though I can't for the life of me tell why the front door is cracked open in this manner. Is there a smuggling operation going on in there? Oh. Right. This is Murdoch's front door, not my bedroom. Force of habit. Sorry, I'll... Oh, no, you won't. I jump hearing Mrs. Burns' voice right behind me as she touches my shoulder, brushing it to signal my scooting out of the way. Not one step forward, you rascals. Holly's still trying her dress on. I won't risk for one moment the chance for you to lay eyes on her before the wedding. It's bad luck, you know. I think there's some playfulness in Miss Burns' voice, but it's hard to tell. Well, we're not exactly sticklers for tradition. Jim is noticeably less amused. Well, while you're under this roof, you will be. Hold for a moment. She closes the door on him and spins around, looking. Then she sighs. Now where's Murdy when you need him? Her eyes fixate on me. You go find him and keep the girls on high alert. I'll hold the fort. I wouldn't put it past this crew to sneak out to the garden and steal a look. All right. I hear somebody turn a corner in the hall. I half expected it to be Ralph or Murdoch's father, but it isn't. Dahlia. She gives me a curt nod. Mr. Ayers? I thought you'd still be out in the garden right now. What makes you say that? I realized for a moment that I probably wasn't supposed to have heard her and her sister's conversation from the bathroom. So I just jerked my head in the direction of the foyer. Your mama told me that you would be. She purses her lips. I see. Gives me orders to find Murdoch and have us shield Holly from Jim's side or something. That sounds like her. Murdoch's already in the garden, so you won't have to look for very long. Oh, good. Have you seen Ralph? Father took him to carry a few things. There's one less person to worry about for now. Right, thanks. Be patient before you make yourself known if you decide to go out there. We're all under a lot of pressure. Weird thing to say. Alright. I walk out back through a little room with a screen door at the back and find myself in a rose garden. High fences blocking my view of most things out here save a few gaps in the lattice. But I can hear Murdoch and Holly conversing. I'm just not particularly interested. Why? It's just one party. Regardless, his friends are coming. I doubt that I'll be missed. There's another side to that coin too. Do you even know how many parties that I've had to attend when I've preferred to stay in? Isn't that besides the point? No. It's the entire point. I'll finally dot it with a peacock's quill if I must. You're not obliged to fulfill a fraction of the social obligations that I've had over the years. They didn't ship you to finishing school, nor dictate the cut of your clothing, nor the colors of fabric that look best on you nigh daily. You're not even expected to give them grandchildren. Holly, I'm just curious to hear what you think, Murdoch. Do you think that they treat me the same if they found me stealing off into the night to dance in a barn? Father would have me examined if he found me even going for groceries after dark. I know you have it hard as well. The vixen bursts out in an angry little laugh. Hard? You? So going to a party is hard now? No. And here I thought that you would jump at the opportunity to do something that you do all the time anyway. It's not the same. I never said it was, but can't you do this one last thing? The wedding's tomorrow. Everybody needs to be in a good mood for this all to work out. If everything has to go perfectly for everything to work out, doesn't that make the plan bad? I hear her sigh as she puts down something that sounds like a magazine. I think we're good enough to do perfectly for one more day. Besides, do you have any better ideas? I'll hear them if you do. Murdoch doesn't say anything for a while. You still want to get everybody out of town, right? Right. If Mother sees what a good change of pace the city is for me, I know that she'll want to move. Father will fall in line after that. And what if they don't? Then that's their decision. Jim might want to stay for a while, but I don't think that he'll stay here for long. And you really think that he'll bring us all? Maybe not, but I do, yes. Why? Because I know for a fact that he loves me. And he'll want to help me take care of my family. But what if he doesn't? I'm not going to entertain something that I don't think is true. I don't have the assurance that you do. It won't come to that. But what if it does? Then I can handle it. Pardon. When I turn the corner, they both look at me and stare. Sam? What does he want? There's an edge in her tone that isn't usually there. Not much of anything from present company. Just bearing the news that your fiancé has arrived. Already? He's early. Sounds like he brought company too. That would be Neil and Reuben then. We hear the back door open. Then we hear Miss Burns' voice before we see her. All right, change of plans. Miss Burns shows up with Dahlia at her side, marching into the garden like it's unconquered wilderness. Your father hasn't found all the catering equipment, and I don't trust those gentlemen to behave themselves. We'll have the men distract them while we're in the proper condition to meet with them. Murdoch steps out of the way as she places a heavy-looking basket in front of Holly, then turns to us. Well, hop to it, boys. The ladies need some space. The corners of Murdoch's smile tighten a bit, and he nods, looking at me and jerking his head back in the direction of the door. Once we get back inside, the first thing that I hear is a booming shout from a door slightly ajar. Murdoch! It's his father's voice. He glances at the hallway leading to the door first, then the door going downstairs. He skips a step when he hears the yell again, then he sticks his head through the doorway. What? We could use some help down here. Mother says that I need to deal with the guests. They're grown men and can deal with themselves. Last winter's boxes are all scattered up and everything's in the wrong place. You've been messing around down here? No, Dad. I don't go into the cellar. Well, if it's not you, then it's one of your sisters. Is this really important right now? If words come out of my mouth, they're important. You hear? Now get your ass down here. The hair on his tail sticks up when he looks at the doorway. He gives me a quick look. I'll catch up. Well, what am I supposed to do? Just let them talk. Talk about what? By the time that I ask the question, his tail is slipping past the door. It's hard not to groan as I look at the corridor in front of me and shake my head. I hear more voices down the hall. Then the muscles on my neck tense up a little bit. I remember Holly mentioning over dinner that Neil, whoever he is a congressman. I've never met anybody that important before. The closest that I've ever gotten is talking to the mayor once. Hope I don't mess up and make him propose some crazy new law. Their voices get louder as I approach, but I don't want them to see me yet. If we're stuck standing around much longer, I'll have to look outside to make sure that there aren't any people scraping their way across the desert in a lifeboat. The musical voice from a broad, stout cat who teeters on his feet as he talks. Such is the way of things, poor Reuben. So it goes, so it goes. The marbled fox smirks. I am very familiar with how you like to be quick about things, but I thought medical school would have taught you some discipline by now. The cat surprises me with a sudden burst of uproarious laughter. That makes the tall, thin dog, who I assume to be Neil, snort. I wouldn't trust this one with a scalpel until after he's 2 drinks in. His voice is deep and grim. Your fiancé has a lovely little home, really. Did he say little? My old house growing up used to be about the size of the foyer alone. Pity it seems like we're not going to see the rest of it. The cat wipes his eye and nods profusely. I know you said that she runs a tight ship, but it feels more like we're stranded on the dock. Oh, Reuben, you don't know the half of it. She's the captain, make no mistake. And what of the husband? Far more than her husband. Frankly, if I had to wager, I'd say that he's not doing any of the thrusting in that bed. Cheeky thing to say, considering that's going to be your position in a few days. It sounds as if you fancy the image, poor Reuben. Well, I think you could certainly use some humbling. It's called the old ball and chain for a reason, Jim. Tease all you like, but you'll both be sorry if you underestimate me. Murdoch was right. They don't seem like the types who need additional conversation. Works for me. We could just ask the fellow over there for some help. He looks like he's waiting for something to do. Wait. Is he talking about me? They could see me this whole time? I don't think that would be such a good idea. He's right, you know. If he had something to do, he would be doing it. If he's any good, I mean. Leave him be for now. He'll have his work cut out for him tonight at the party. And what does that mean exactly? Yeah. What does that mean? Let's see how our conversation goes a few drinks in. I exhale a breath of relief when I hear Murdoch and Ralph chatting down the hall. Oh, hello. The fox walks up to take and shake each one of the man's hands. You must be Neil and you must be Reuben. I know you've both come a long way to be here. I am accustomed to traveling often. I can say the same. Though, admittedly, the tumbleweeds are a change of pace. I suppose you wouldn't have those, but there's a bounciness to them that I admire. And we hear you're very bouncy. All three of them laugh. Murdoch clears his throat and then nods. Well, shall I fetch you any drinks? Are they not being put to use? Neil gestures to me, then to Ralph. The groundskeeper is not present. But this is Sam, one of the stalkers at the general store. I nod, deciding not to speak. And this is Ralph, who is my childhood friend. Did you really think that I was going to serve you a slice of sausage on a stick or something? He glances over at Ralph from bottom to top. My mistake. Murdoch gives Ralph a look that says, please don't, without speaking it aloud. Hold the drinks for now. There's plenty of them where we're going. Agreed. The walk to the hip is whatever the opposite of an awkward silence is. The three men chat amongst themselves as tight as brothers. They don't make any attempts to pause or ask Ralph or Murdoch or myself any such thing. I'm grateful for that, for my sake alone. But when the doctor brings up astronomy, or the congressman brings up film, I can tell the fox wants to jump in. It sours me some. There's a small crowd hovering outside the hip, which tells me that the inside is going to be packed. When we step inside, I can see that I'm right. The hip is close to full for a weekday evening. Looks like the whole staff is on deck. They brought out the white linens and candles for the tables tonight. Harlan is talking fast with a crowd of men asking for drinks. Waitresses carrying hot bowls of sizzling dishes scurry back and forth to each end of the dining area, pushing trolleys full of shining containers. Hard to think that this is the same place where I slept day in and day out, considering what's going on. What's strange is the person walking up to me with a notebook in her hand. Good evening, gentlemen. Table for 5? 6. She looks them over and stops at me with a slightly confused look on her face. I think she's staring at the suit that I'm wearing. We're packed tight tonight, but I can squeeze you all somewhere. We have a reservation. She looks us over again. I see. The wine and dine situation is first come, first serve. So it goes, so it goes. I apologize for any misunderstandings. I presume you booked a room upstairs then? That was my intention. Your surname? Surname is Sterling. Cynthia flips through the papers and her brow lifts a bit. I see. Easily done. You've a few hours before everything's ready. There's an open table by the window. Let's be on our way then. It's pretty clear that he's talking to just the new folks. Before you go, can I borrow him for a moment? Jim shrugs and gestures. It's no business of mine. I'll return him shortly. She pulls me into one of the staff washrooms. You look expensive. Are they gangsters? No. I don't actually know that. At least, they aren't to my knowledge. There's a wedding tomorrow. Oh? I love weddings. I don't think you'd care much for this one. I'm assuming the groom is the one that you didn't book for the smoke room? One? Wait. Cynthia, how many people am I booked for tonight? The note says 4 at once. I'm reeling a little bit. 4? Murdoch is barely keeping it together with one man. I don't know what the three would do to him. I briefly find it funny that Ralph clearly wasn't paid for, but it's no surprise considering the direction the conversation would go. What a mess. Don't you mean a blessing? For one booking just about quadrupled your rate for a night. The groom is involved. She tilts her head. Oh. So is somebody who I think won't want to be involved. I could take him for the night. He'd still have to pay me, of course. I don't think that idea works in this case. I'll break it to him and let him decide. That's generally how these things get resolved. I nod and part ways with her, finding my way to Jim's table. Once I take my seat, the noise of the piano picks up. One of the waitresses brings us a flagon of water in cups. Really now? No dinner reservations? I suppose that's the countryside for you. Jim whistles. There's a charm enough if you know where to find it. His eyes flick to me and to Murdoch for a moment. See what I told you? He's whooped already. Poor boy's gone local. You acquire a bit of a wanderlust when you choose to go outside. You should try it sometime, when he's not stitching bodies together and he's not in an office thinking up new taxes to draft. I touch a good deal of healthy bodies in the city. We have beds aplenty and don't have to make do with hay bales. Pardon my interruption, but I am very curious. Has a single one of you been inside of a barn in your life? Can't say that I know the pleasure. My father owns a horse barn. So, he had you shovel the shit and everything? That's what the staff is for. Right. So, we can agree that you all have hands as smooth as a baby's bare cheek. The cat snorts while sipping his water while Jim and Neil glance at one another, then back to the rat. Let's hear your background then. Whatever you like to know. What does a Southlander do, spending his days tucked away in Emma County? Pharmacology. Really now? Reuben here might like the pill-pushing talk, but I hope that we can change the subject. Funny job for a Southlander. Ralph swirls his glass. Funny how? Surely a nation built from criminals has all sorts of uses for men in the pharmaceutical business. Too true. They teach us how to process and identify all substances known to man. If you make enough friends like me, then you can recoup all the coke that you need for your friends south of the border after Harrison anti-drug passed. Neil chuffed and put his glass down at the table. Reuben was roaring with laughter. He's got you by the balls there. I wasn't aware that the tabloids made it all the way out to the boonies. Oh, certainly. We had 2 presses, if you would like to believe, before the one got burnt down. Telephones and electricity, too. We don't want to make it too frightful out here for city people like you. They got you wrapped up in a scandal, Neil? Now there's the hot-blooded Neil that I used to know. I really have been missing out. Neil stared sternly, lips curled up, as he finished another chug of water. Then the bottom of his glass thudded against the table. Baseless accusations, of course. They couldn't make up enough lies about me to take me to court. Jim sighed dramatically. Dusty, dutiful Neil. I figured that you'd insist upon going by the books. Neil plucked a pipe from his pocket, carefully stuffed a bit of tobacco into the end, put it to his mouth, and lit it. You sound disappointed to hear that. Seems pointless to be a senator if you don't get caught up in a scandal or two. Perhaps that's why I enact legislation and you study rocks, old boy. Can't say that I know the pleasure. We keep our noses clean enough. Especially if they never catch you, eh? Why not? After all, that seems to be the fantasy you want to entertain. Ralph? Behave. Come now. I'm just another performer providing tonight's entertainment. He makes a gesture at Ruben, who's in tears from laughing so hard, and Jim, who's wearing an undeniable smirk. As if, on Ralph's cue, the piano picked up. A performer that I've never seen before takes the stage and starts to sing. She's pretty good, but the crowd is still talking amongst themselves, barely listening. Most of the audience members paying attention have eyes set on the backup dancers joining the stage. They aren't exactly wearing much. Flowing dresses with slips that show off a lot of leg. Neil leans forward in his seat. Finally, something easy on the eyes. Well, they're certainly women. They most certainly are. The cat's leaning forward too. What's the matter, Neil? Are you saying our party isn't fair enough for you? It's fair enough for a party that serves only sausage, if you get my drift. Perhaps all meat has flavor, if you get my drift. I suppose if you lived in a place like this, you'd be desperate enough to think so. I've never seen more men in this county than my days in service, and that's quite the feat. The fattest wallets will empty quick enough if you're surviving on showgirls. Poor proud Neil. We've shared girls before. Surely you weren't thinking about just her in those hasty moments. Scoundrel. I welcome the insult. I haven't even had my first drink yet. Then what'll it be? Let me have a look at their strongest gin. And what are you in the mood for, Reuben? To drink or to slip into? Whichever you prefer to answer. Any port in the storm, right? But to answer both, something smooth. I'll be right back. I think I need some air. He looks a little queasy. You're a bit off. Maybe take it easy on any drinks. I think I could use a break from all of this too. Me too. Don't go far. He looks at the rat. Do you need to join them? Not at all. I am very comfortable right now. That's great to hear. I hear their voices fading as I follow Murdoch's big tail through the crowds of people. Now that I think on it, I think I know exactly the right topic for this bachelor party. And what's that? Religion. I follow him until he runs into a wall of people and can barely walk. So I tug on his tail to get his attention. He flinches and swirls around, then breathes in relief when he sees me. You want to head up to my room? It's quiet there. He nods and I lead him up the stairs. When we're inside the room, he exhales. I saw you talking to that woman you work with. He starts pacing. Did she say that he booked you? I nod. That she did. Of course he would. Of course he would. He stops pacing for a moment and looks at me. You and him and who else? And his two buddies. I rub the back of my head. And you too. He nods and sits down on my bed with a thud. Then he starts scratching beneath the fur on his head, aggressively. You don't look so good. I open the drawer and take out one of my cigarettes. So then, how do I fix this? The lighter is cold to the touch as I flick it. It's good sometimes you don't. He shakes his head. Not tonight. Or the next one either, I reckon. That's Holly's wedding. And then it's the busiest day at the store. And then it's picture day. Funny how it always is something, ain't it? He shrugged. Why is that your problem all of a sudden? I shrug back. Because you're sort of my boss in a way, ain't you? Hard to get paid if you keel over. The boss is my dad, Sam. I'm just an assistant manager. Don't think that I'll be around too long if you weren't calling some of the shots. He looks in the mirror and rakes his claws through the fur on his head. When the whole lot of us are out of town, I'm not going to have to do these things anymore. You'll see. So, you're saying it's only temporary? Yeah. I laugh. What? Nothing. It's clearly something. It's just that you sound more and more like me each day. That's supposed to be a compliment? Not really. You really know how to sweet talk a guy. Whoring ain't about sweet talk. It's about doing what needs done and getting paid. Who says that I had an interest in whoring? You were already doing it. I'm not. Do you really want to fuck all those men downstairs? Well... He looks down. Why wouldn't I? Because they're complete strangers and you don't know what they're after. If you come into this room with them and they want you to do something, you'll have to do it. Clients get angry when they don't get what they want. They're not my clients. There's something that you want from them, don't you? It's not that simple. It's a cluttered, messy mix of a lot of things. If you're fucking for something other than love or pleasure, that's whoring. Plain and simple. He holds my vanity and looks straight into the mirror. I suppose you have a point. Do you get it now? He nods slowly. Yeah. So, are you still going through with it? He rolls his neck and bites his lips. I think that I should. Can you live with that? He looks at me. How do you? I chuckle. Not very well. He laughs too. You know, I used to fuck a whole lot more. For love and pleasure. Pleasure at the very least. Love was always harder. You ever love anybody? I used to love Ralph. He loved me too, in his ways. Then what happened? After my brother died, he left for school. He came back, didn't he? 12 years later. I shrug. You both still seem close. When somebody's your friend, it seems that you can pass by all the days in the universe, then pick up with them again like no time has passed at all. Except it did. And now you're both different. You both want different things than you did before, and then you become strangers again without even knowing it. I don't think that we want the same kind of life. So, what kind of life do you want? Something a little more glamorous than a shopkeep. And a little less stuffy than a chamber musician. He looks at me, smiling weakly. Why do you think that I make a good whore? I think you already do. I'm not joking. He raps his knuckles against the wood. Sex used to be the one thing in my life that I wouldn't let work or my family touch. It's apparent to me now that I couldn't even do that at the end of the day. Only now you can say that if somebody wants to fuck you, they have to pay. No more free rides when a job's a job. He exhales. Can I make up my mind about it later? Just do what you have to do. I just want to know. Are you gonna show up in this room tonight? Yeah. I have a job to do. Alright. That gives me enough to think about. I just have one request. And what's that? Can I have a real kiss before you do any of this? Something just for me? I don't know what to say. Business aside, this is going to be a bad night for him. But I don't want to kiss him out of pity. That would be far too cruel. Do you really think you'd be prepared to live the same kind of life that I do? Just based on how you handle what you already have to handle? And to follow that wherever it goes? Well, I really don't know. You can't tell what a road is like until you've walked it. Think for a second. The life I live is selfish. So, what if it is? Because I don't think that you have a selfish bone in your body. And that's a problem for me. Why would I need to be selfish if I care about you? Because I don't want to be responsible for you curling up to die. You've known me for what? A week? There's tears in his eyes. So? So, why do you think that I'm good enough for you? Because I think you are. Listen to me. I know that you know what I did. His eyes widen and the tears flow faster. Do you really want to miss somebody who's gonna be gone? I'm already talking with you like you're gone. I watched you and waited for you so long, and now that I get to talk to you, it's like you've already decided that you're gone. But you're not gone. I can see you, I can touch you, I can hear you. But what happens when somebody comes for me? I'm stupid and I'm sloppy. If it isn't the sheriff who comes for me, it'll be somebody else. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to get out of the town, or else I'm going to be buried here and soon. Then that's what we'll do. That's what who will do. You'll come with me when Jim gets us out of town. I blink. No offense, but do you really want to rely on that guy to help us? It's one thing that won't make you look like you're running away, isn't it? Suppose so. I'll tell you what. If you don't kiss me tonight, I'll accept that my feelings aren't real. It will hurt, but I promise to live. My heart is pounding in my chest. Part of me wants to touch him, to smooth down his ears and hold his head as I stick my tongue down his throat. But I'm not gonna break him. He's been battered so much, and he gets back up every time. But who's going to be the last one to do it? Not me. No, not me. Can I surprise you on the off chance that I decide to? Yeah. That's good. No promises, though. I never expected those anymore, really. Good. Now then. You want to ditch this party with me? I thought you said you're going to be in your room for them? Sure did, but that's hours away, and sure shit ain't nobody paying me to attend a goddamn bachelor party. If we did, we'd have to distract them so that they wouldn't notice it's gone for long. My friend Cynthia is an expert at diversions. Let me see what I can arrange. I see her darting in and out of the kitchen. It takes her the third time to see me in the washroom. She makes eye contact and tilts her head. She glances behind her shoulder, puts her empty tray on a counter, and walks towards me slow. I could have nearly screamed my head off seeing your big red eyes staring at me from the dark if I wasn't so used to it. What are you doing down here? I thought you had guests to entertain? They, ain't exactly my guests. Sam? We both heard Murdoch before we saw him, and Cynthia jumped. If one more man hops at me out of the shadows, I'm going to scream for real, and it's not going to be pretty. Sorry. We both need an opportunity to slip away from them for a while. Her face shifts from an annoyed look to a cautious one. Are they violent? I mean, they could be. I technically don't know. Not to my knowledge. More on the uppity side of things. Yeah, I could tell that they're out-of-towners. I can handle a man if I know what I'm dealing with. But I don't like to mess with unpredictability. I get the feeling that the less chances I have to make them mad, the happier they'll be when one comes. They look rich, so I'm in. What do you need me to do? A big, long distraction that'll tire folks out, and then leave them a bit dazed. Easy. That's such a relief. Murdoch? This time Cynthia did scream, followed by a surge of words in that language that I don't understand. Customers aren't allowed in here! Then what's he doing here? He gestures at the fox. We're trying to get out of the party without Jim getting furious with us. You're leaving me alone with them? You can come with us. No, you're leaving me alone with them. Somebody's going to guide their hungover shells to the wedding tomorrow, and if it's not going to be you, then it's going to be me. Why does it have to be either of us? Because I heard what Holly wants you to do. I heard from the bathroom back at the house. I don't know who Holly is, but you all need to leave soon. If you want a loud and long distraction, I've never heard a better call for a hootenanny. Can any of you play guitar? Not well. Well enough. Well, if he starts the song, the rat can finish. The name's Ralph, sweetheart. She crinkles her nose at him. I don't need to know who you are. You're on a timer. Just borrow one of the instruments backstage. Those belong to Dora. She doesn't look them up during performance hours. It's fine if you put them back where it belongs. We all walk out and take our positions. Cynthia walks up to one of the women on stage, transitioning between performances. They nod empathically and guide Cynthia forward to the metal microphone on stage. Y'all having a bang-up time? Hoots and hollers shout out into the stage. Here at the Hip, we have a little tradition that I know most of y'all are familiar with. It's high time we had ourselves a hootenanny. Her stage voice is ridiculous. Best song wins a free drink. Now, let's see. You there, Red Fox in the formal getup. Get your tail on up here. Murdoch looks real bashful. Well, thank you for the opportunity, miss. The world's yours, Mr. Murdoch. You see, folks, this song I'm about to sing is special. Me and my friend Ralph over there were asked by my mother to attend this party for our musical abilities. Ralph pretends not to be seen. So, rusty as I am, I'd like to do some good tonight with something that I'm good enough at. This one goes out to my future brother-in-law, who's tying the knot tomorrow. There's an uproarious applause. Jim looks incredibly confused. I don't much care for dancing, but if this is the quickest way to leave, I've long been ready.
Wind rocks the desert night, the summer sand, natural things, naturally, what frontiersmen should understand. And nothing's more natural than knowing how to move. Here's a tune about an ache that we can soothe. Let's reenact a snappy scene that duds might find mundane, about a pair of partners who went up and missed their train. One grabbed the other's wrist and asked him, buy a man some hooch. Of course the other said, we'll slide you another working pooch. He tossed and taps a shoulder blade as temperance flies the coop. Then eyes meet eyes and glass meets glass as whiskers start to droop. Well, if you're feeling spry and gay, I think you know what's next. Lock eye to eye and elbows hooked and keep your partner flexed. Wet your whistle, quench your thirst, though it be hard to see. Having vice ain't always nice, but hey, at least you're free. Now take a dip and hook his hip, remind me of that scene where words pass lips between the sips and somewhere rather mean. But hey, they're pressed in closer, hey, their courage bloomed, and hey, they're taking wagers, boasting over which their manhood loomed. Though thigh to thigh and pockets frisked, he grabbed his partner's wrist. Got a different kind of drink for you, I simply must insist. Now my mind mind grows foggy as those spirits fade. Look now how morning light is seizing our charade. Ruffled slacks, sweaty backs all about the floor. Revel quietly as others about you snore. Lock gazes and think upon my scene. You may find the things they hadn't yet and thoughts between. Lovers light, morning dark, and everything you know. There as many locks and keys as you allow.
We're laughing and panting as the wind whips around us. Did you see Ralph's face when he caught the guitar? He's gonna be writing you out next time he sees you. And Jim's expression when your friend cut him off? My sides have never hurt this much from laughing. Didn't think that you'd be laughing much at all tonight. Oh? It's a welcome surprise. So, what are you gonna do? Where do you want to go? Why are you asking me? Because I don't get to ask what you'd like to do enough. By now, I usually am lifting weights until I'm sore. Is that how you get your arms that big? They could be bigger. They're monsters compared to mine. All your bulk is in your legs. At least lifting boxes is good for something. I guess it wouldn't be that hard to show you how to build up your arms. Who says that I want to build up my arms? Because if you did, you could pick up Jim and Ralph at the same time and tuck them behind the top shelf of the store. So, are we sneaking back into your room to lift weights then? I rub my chin. Nah. It's a bad idea to get you sore before Holly's wedding. There's no telling what stunts they're gonna ask you to pull off tomorrow. So, where to? I lean against the railing of a nearby bank and cross my arms, thinking. There's so much that I had to do for Murdoch's folks that the last days have all been a blur. I like to relax, sure, but I can't help but feel like there's something that I'm supposed to do. I suppose there's always something that I'm supposed to do, ain't there? I look up at the fancy sign above me and chuckle a little bitterly. Would be nice if I had enough money to just take it out and treat Murdoch to a meal. I did before I... Wait a minute. Oh, hell. I was supposed to meet somebody the other night. Wait, what's wrong? You sound upset all of a sudden. I'm upset because I'm a goddamn idiot. Well, I don't think so. Listen, you'll mind if we go cross the tracks? Not at all. Good. Any reason? There's a mausoleum out there. Okay. And because I need to check up on somebody. At a mausoleum? Yeah. Oh. It's that student in the rose dress and straw hat. Blythe Washington? Yeah, that's the one. She nabbed some of my money and won't give it back to me unless I do her a favor. She stole from you? Nah, she doesn't know it was mine. What? It's a long story. No kidding? Hopefully it won't take too long at all. We keep talking along the way. It's a lot easier now that he sees through me and I see through him. We ain't men who like to let ourselves be seen. The distant whistle of the train lets me know that we aren't too far from our destination. When we get to the graveyard, I take a peek around me. The door to the mausoleum is slightly ajar, but when I go up to open it wider, we don't see nobody. Damn it. You might have better luck at her house. Huh? We passed it on the way here. But then again, I didn't see any lights on in the house. They're probably asleep by now. If somebody told me that little witch didn't sleep, I'd believe him. His ears perk up. Quiet, I hear somebody coming. Maybe I'm not so out of luck after all. Careful, my dear. Those causeways are one slippery step away from a twisted ankle. Oh. Don't worry, I came prepared. They never maintain the potter's fields. Too common a practice, if you ask me. The only unmarked family name that we know of is the Begay man, who was accused of terrible crimes. People say that he's one of the unmarked graves here, but there are rumors that James Hendricks I moved the body. Ghastly stuff. Is there some grain of truth to that? Well, nobody knows for sure. All that's certain is that those who say they're certain certainly do not know. Cliff waggles a finger at her. I bet you can't say that 5 times fast. How much will you wager? Hold on for a moment. He crouches in front of a wooden stake. Well, what do we have here? These ones look like they might have belonged to the Pesh-Likai family. Or at least somebody who thinks so. That sounds like a stretch. No, not a stretch at all. Take a closer look at the cloth on this post. There's 7 blue stripes spaced wildly here next to 3 tightly packed red. Then there's another 7 blue beneath them, and a solitary orange. According to the locals, those people haven't lived in town since the 1870s. Oh? But this doesn't look that old at all. He rises. I'll never know the specificities unless I desecrate the graves, but I could never be so ghoulish. I think I've learned about as much as I can from here. Thank you for your time and your ear, but I must be off to the train. You've been nothing short of marvelous company, Mr. Tibbets. Are you leaving us for good? Heavens no, not for good. But I was too ambitious to come along on my own. I'll supply my own men for the task that I need doing when I next return. He dips to give her a quick kiss on the wrist, straightens his backpack, and trots off towards the direction of the train station. If he's coming back, then I really have to get out of town. I hope he never does, honestly. He's nice. Dahlia turns towards the mausoleum. Shit, she heard us. Murdoch? Evening, sister. And Mr. Ayers? The very same. She looks back and forth between the two of us. Strange place to be on a night like this. Well... Though I should clarify that wherever you choose to be can always be our little secret. I needed some air as well. I suppose the preparations for Holly's special day is taking its toll on all of us. Quite so. Was the bachelor party tolerable? Technically, it hasn't finished. Has she been making demands of you? No more than usual. That sounds like an honest way to dodge the question, Murdoch. What about you? There have been strange ones for me. Strange how? Well, first she became cross with me when I gave her a spot of tea from Mother's collection. And then she gave me a thick letter to keep, telling me not to open it unless Jim got cold feet. That's peculiar. Were the contents grim? Lord knows now. I fed it to the fire. If she decides again to burden me with knowledge that is entirely not my business, then she can use her voice, not ink. I see. No matter. I wish you well on your nightly endeavors, with whoever or wherever you wish to pursue them. She gives me a curt nod and then turns away. Then she comes upon a gravestone and stops walking. She looks like she's deciding to say something or not. And then she turns around, looks at us, and does. Important grave over here. You should pay your respects. And then she turns away. Weird little woman. All right. I turn to Murdoch, but he looks a bit stiff. He's walking up to the grave, and he looks scared, almost as if he's making sure that there's nothing below the ground, pushing up soil. You alright, Murdoch? Yeah. I walk up to read the grave that he was looking at. It was one of those plain gravestones with only the surname on it. Shawl. Family friend? Can't say for sure. Never got too caught up emotionally with the graves of strangers myself. I think I hear an owl hooting in the distance, and I take a look around to see if I can find it. Alright then. That's enough playing with bones, I think. The girl's not here, so we might as well return to the land of the living. Murdoch exhales and nods a few times. Yeah, sounds nice. It doesn't take long to walk back into town. It's the time of night where lights are still on in folks' houses, but the streets are empty enough to enjoy for a private stroll. Well, we went where I wanted to go. Your turn. Murdoch puts his hands in his pockets. It's a lot of pressure to think of something that tops that kiss you gave me. If you want, then, we can go somewhere else and do it again. He smiles at me. It was just the important one that I wanted. I check my watch. You better think quick then. I'm needed back at the hips sooner than you might think. He nods. I think I'm going back with you. I stop walking. Then I whistle. You sure about that? I wasn't earlier. He puts his paw flat against my chest and pushes me against the beam, pressing his waist to mine, dipping his muzzle into the air against my ear. But now I am. He pulls away with his momentum as quickly as came. I want to go through what you do. I think I'm ready for the men, now. I loom over him just a bit, lowering my posture to look him in the eyes. Are you sure you want to do this? He doesn't break eye contact and nods. I sigh and nod. We'll see about that. I get as close to him as I can without kissing him again. I'll make it as easy for you as I can. There's a fog swirling inside the drinking hall of the Sagura's hip when we return to it. Alert postures have been replaced with the slouches that smoke and spirits grant. The piano player has abandoned jauntiness in favor of meek, delicate scales. Most of the showgirls have long since abandoned their stations, but a few flirt amongst the bar as they prepare to transition to their night duties. And I do the same as Sam pulls me by the cuff of my shirt up the stairs and towards his room. He exchanges some whispers with a Meseta woman who nods and rushes off to deliver directions. There are buckets waiting for us. He asks me if I need help cleaning, but I tell him that I already know how. We rinse together, giving one another dignity in the opposite direction. It doesn't take me long. I pat myself dry and dress myself, chuckling to myself, knowing that I'm just dressing to be undressed. And then I wait outside for them by the door. I see them walking in a row, down the hall like criminals in a pact, coming towards me to engage in something just as criminal. The smell of booze and the ardor of men's deep revelry clouds the air when they approach his room. I gesture at them with my arm beckoning, as if I'm just another waiter. Your sense of service is a nice touch, kid. The physician pats my cheek, and his paws linger on my face as he lets the back of his wrist smooth down my whiskers. The grim congressman says little and does not make eye contact with me, but the tent in his pants speaks for him. Jim is the last to pass by me, but he's close enough and full of enough rump for me to feel the warmth radiating off his cheeks. I remember his smell. I remember the low murmur of his voice and how it rumbles like a plea all bravado shed whenever I know that he really wants something. This might be the last time that we get to do this for a while. Let's make it good for each other. I don't know if it was ever wholly good. Even if it feels good. He makes me stir between my pants all the same, leading me by the collar into Sam's room. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain what you won't be able to get to see because obviously it's basically a sex scene. um, but it is an important sex scene, so I decided to basically record this real quick and try to tell you what you're not seeing. So if you haven't noticed, Murdoch is not too happy about what is about to happen. He is determined to see it through, to experience what Samuel experiences, but at the same time, Samuel is sort of like, you don't have to do this. It's not something that you need to witness. It's not something that you need to be here for. And the extra people, which would be Ruben and the other guy, I forgot his name, Neil, that they might not, treat you very well. And Sam will basically has to step in to sort of take their focus away from Murdoch, thankfully. But in doing so, Murdoch and Jim are basically the ones canoodling, and the scene basically focuses on Murdoch and Jim. Well, more specifically on Murdoch and how he's feeling about what's happening. So Jim basically takes him and has him work on his tool. And while he's doing it, Murdoch is sort of like in his own head going like, okay, this is happening. Um, Jim seems to like me. Yeah, sure. We're doing the same thing. He smells the same way that I do. He smells nice, etc., etc. But then Jim makes a like an off comment, saying basically like, "Oh, you like this, right? Like maybe I should get you a ring, one that nobody will see." And that causes Neil and Ruben to laugh, and it kind of throws off Murdoch, saying like, "What the hell? Like, did he just make a joke at my expense?" And well, Jim finishes, but then like Jim stands up and he sort of starts doing something else that's kind of demeaning for Murdoch, which Murdoch doesn't like. And Murdoch's, he recoils a little bit, causing Jim to stumble and fall, funnily enough, which Ruben and Neil find funny. But it throws off Jim, who then notices that, Murdoch has been acting a little weird. Like, he doesn't bring it up at that moment, but he kind of is visibly upset by what has just happened, which is, that Murdoch doesn't seem to be all into what's going on. And in Jim's mind at that time, he's like putting pieces together and saying, like, wait a minute, these two, meaning Murdoch and Samuel, left earlier through during the animatic or whatever it's called, the little music video, and they've been acting a little suspicious, specifically Murdoch. And then after they're done, Murdoch basically walks out of the room, like putting on his clothes, and Jim's like, where the fuck are you going? And Jim follows, and I hear the door open and then footsteps. Murdoch. What, Jim? He lifts his arm as if stupefied. What the hell was that? A good job, I should hope. I wanted to enjoy it. But you always enjoy it. I do, Jim. You're just not the reason why. Seems like you're afraid that you did too. Stop blowing hot wind. I already know that I enjoy it. So then, the problem's just enjoying it too much? We're just different, you and me. I just can't catch the same sort of reputation you have. A reputation? That's news to my ears. Then now's a good time to open them up for a moment. My tastes are not your own. I am not subservient. Yet, if I offer to look behind your tail, would you really say no? Those words stopped him in place, and I saw his tail shiver. I give him my most sympathetic smile. See what I mean? No. You aren't acting yourself tonight. Something's different. I chuckle and readjust my bow tie, walking towards him, touching him on the arms. Seems to me like you're overthinking things. You've had a lot to drink and excitement. I would be too, considering the big day tomorrow. Or... He jerks free of my embrace. You're just acting suspicious. My lips fall into a frown. Suspicious how? His gaze lingers on me. Funny thing that you're not right this instant. But you're different sometimes. Like just then, back in the bedroom. I shake my head. I swear that I don't mean any offense. Jim bites his lips. I think I believe you. But I know that something queer just happened. Even if I can't put words to it yet. The door to Sam's bedroom opens. We should talk again after the party. I'll try to stay dry for you, but no promises. The big puma takes up the entire doorframe before he steps aside, wiping his mouth as the other two bachelors stumble past the door, fully dressed but walking somewhat clumsily. Now there's a routine that would keep me spry. The greyhound lifts his brow regarding the cat. Not as seeing you move so quickly. Had to just keep up with Old Faithful over there. He jerked his head to Jim, wagging his eyebrows. I heard Jim chuckle darkly as he passed me, regaining poise, crossing his arms over each of their necks. It sounds to me like you both finished. Get off of me, Jim. You smell like booze. But we all smell. Not so much as me before the night is up, and that's a promise. The three of them laughed as they swayed down the stairs. Hey, Sam. Yeah? Can you walk me home before Ralph sees me? Yeah. We passed the hoots and the hollers of the stage below, and the drunken laughter emanating from the powder room as we descend the staircase. Here's home. We stare at the brick house with the candlelight in the window. You don't have to call it that. It's just a bit of a reflex. How was the party? About as good as I could have expected. You really didn't have to come back with me. I decided that I wanted to. Did I do all right for my first time? All right enough. Besides the point that wasn't your first time. We stare some more at the house. Tired. Sweaty. Struggling to stay awake. So, what made you slip up? The fox looks down, shaking his head. He laughed at me. I didn't like it. They'll do that sometimes. It's not your fault, though. It's not? No. Your sense for rhythm is impressive. Watching you made me want to try harder. Oh yeah? Yeah. His tail swishes back and forth like it's gliding in a figure-8 motion. Maybe don't try as hard as me. Why's that? 'Cause we're only halfway through this all. I wouldn't want you to lose all your energy. Fair enough. I flap my coat to let some air in. This formal wear is killing me. My mother will do the killing if we get them dirty before the big day. That party was pretty rough on the suit. If we air them out tonight in the garden, they'll be fresh for tomorrow. Is the gate locked? Somebody lit the lantern. Is it your mother? I don't have the energy to prepare for something like that right now. If it's anybody, I have to presume it's Holly. You'd presume right. Whoa. Did I alarm you, Mr. Ayers? I didn't expect you to be right there is all. I find people often show up where you least expect them to. Like my fiancé, for instance. We both turn around to see where she's glancing. Jim is walking up into the light, both of his hands in his pockets, looking a bit sullen. Jim? I thought you'd still be at your party. I'm throwing the towel a bit early, considering this is the second time that you both snuck off. The second time? Her eyes narrow in on Murdoch first, and then on me. You and Ralph were both supposed to escort him tonight. They did. The rat's still with my other friends, in fact. Well then, at least one of them is taking this seriously. Hey, who says I'm not taking things seriously? Well, look at him. He's clearly upset. I shouldn't have to remind you how you and Ralph get when you're idle. We're rarely idle, but when we can be, we've earned it. I am upset, Holly. I feel Murdoch tremble. But he's not the reason. He stops. Holly tilts her head and opens the fence. Then whatever is the matter, dear? I came all this way just to see what these two were up to. Mostly because when people sneak off and don't tell you why, they're generally up to no good or something fun. But here they are, waddling home to you. It is rather late, isn't it? Please let me finish, dear. She nods. Please do. One of the first things that I hear you do as I'm walking up is give them a command. Well, that's simply a coincidence. I promise that I don't spend all my waking hours sending him to and fro. Though I hope that I will receive some grace for pushiness considering what will come to pass tomorrow. It would be prudent for us all to retire. There you go again. Am I being unreasonable? Unreasonable? No. Though I really hate to tell you this, dear. You sound so very like your mother when you tell a group of grown men what they ought to be doing. Well then, I should take that as a compliment, I suppose. For all her rough edges, I really haven't met a more put-together woman than my mother. Stop reciting prepared statements for a moment and listen to me. The day that I trusted you with the truth of my... He avoids looking at me and Murdoch. Nature, it took less than a day for your brother to confess an attraction to me. I thought at first that he must have been pining the moment that he laid eyes on me. But the way that he shrunk from me tonight and buzzes about you gives me doubts. This is very childish, Jim. It just so happens I'm fond of childish things. But I'm fonder of the truth. She looks back at the house and then back to us. Perhaps this is not the best place to speak. It suits me. She sighs. He tells me you're charming. You tell me a bride alone can't satisfy you. Was there a harm in putting two and two together? I only said yes because I thought that he wanted this. And he does, as far as I know. So, what is the truth then? Murdoch takes in a deep breath. Holly folds her hands over her chest. I think you're beautiful, Jim. And I'm haunted by how much I enjoy making you finish. I hear that doesn't apply to only me. Please. The vixen sounds disgusted. There's no need to be depraved. There's little that I can say about this otherwise. Murdoch. But Jim. He exhales. I really can't stand how you talk about my family. I promise that they're not nearly as interesting as you think. Or how you talk about women. Or how you talk about people like me. I don't know why you're out to crucify me then. If I have to be honest, I'm the best thing to ever happen to you people. How could you say that, Jim? Your father's a few years and one violent lapse away from a sanitarium, and your mother's a mirthless bitch. And what's worse is that I know that you agree with me. Holly sucks her teeth. It rarely does somebody any good to fixate on a person's faults. You'd have to be damn well blind not to see those faults. I'm not asking for worship or praise. I'm asking for basic decency. And I'm once again asking for the truth. Why are you sniffing between my legs if I make your skin crawl? How does that make any sense? Because maybe you're not the best thing that happened to me, but you are the best thing to happen to Holly? Murdoch, don't make this worse. No, Please do. I want to hear this. I slept with you because you're a rich brat, and I love my sister. It's nobody else's fault but mine. Wait. He knows that's not true. He's just trying to defuse the situation again, isn't he? I have something I want to say. You stay quiet. You're not even involved in this. Don't you dare talk to Sam like that. His shout makes both Holly and Jim's heads snap to him. It's the angriest that I've ever heard him, and the first time that I've ever heard malice in his voice directed at a family member. Murdoch? The tone in her voice changes from calm and measured to woeful. Her frame trembles as her face scrunches up. Why are you yelling at me? The furrow in Murdoch's brow melts away as his eyes widen. Out of all the days to choose to yell at me, could it be any other day than this one? He swallows a spit and he looks down, ashamed, as if he had just lost control and hit somebody. Horseshit. Jim and Holly remember that I'm a bystander all of a sudden. His sour glance turns pensive, and her tearful look turns cold. I was there in the bathroom this afternoon. I point at the vixen who's pretending to cry. She asked him to be with you tonight. He didn't want to go. What are you, a groundskeeper? Clearly my brother's latest aversion. He's a whore. Of course. Ever more colorful. What makes your words reliable? Because your servants, and probably the rest of your family, can hear you from the bathroom when you're out there in the fucking garden. I believe him. Of course you do. But even if I didn't, what would really matter at this point? That makes her turn to him and focus on only him. Jim? Her tone of voice is wavering. What are you talking about? I can see that all of the people in your goddamn family have screws loose. And you're apparently no better. I'm no better? Jim, this is one of the stupidest, most melodramatic cases of insecurity that I've ever had the misfortune to deal with. And do you want to know why? Why? Because this all begins and ends with the simple fact that you can't keep your prick in your goddamn pants. Nobody speaks for a moment. Are you kidding me? Do you think that I'm kidding you, Jim? Oh, I wish I was. Oh God, I wish I was. Do you really think that most places in Christendom would sympathize with an adulterer cheating on his new fiancée? Cheating on her with men? Her own brother, no less? Are you that fucking sick and crazy? Are you really trying to spin this to turn it on me? It always was on you, Jim. You are the problem. You can't be serious. Couldn't be more. But you know what? I looked past all of that. Because regardless of the depths of your depravity, I still loved you. And I loved you too. At least, I thought I did until all of this insanity. So then, where are we now, Jim? Do you love me, or don't you? Easy question, I hope. He paused. Are you fucking serious? I don't know anymore. I had to think about that. Why do you have to think about that? Because I just don't know what I want anymore. You just don't know what you want? She cackled. You just don't know what you want? Yes. Did I stutter? The wedding's off. The wedding is tomorrow. Our family and friends are already here. I feel something thicken in the air as they shout and they bicker. It's something lofty and heavy and smells like ozone. If I'm feeling any different, or reschedule a wedding in the city. No. The fuck you mean no? I mean, you're not canceling the wedding. Jim bursts out in laughter. I'm afraid I just did. You can wait at the altar all you like, but you won't catch me there, my love. I really didn't want to do this, Jim. I didn't think that I would have to. But you will be there. And we will be officiated by a priest. And we will move to your house in the city as husband and wife, while you make up your mind on whether or not our 4-year relationship means anything to you. What a pretty fantasy. I think I prefer nonfiction. Jim, I am being very, very literal with you right now. Because you will regret it if you do not comply. And what could you possibly do that would make me regret something more than a marriage that I've been coerced into? Jim, I have given 3 informants copies of photographs of you having sex with my brother. Murdoch stumbles backwards. I just feel like I have misheard. What? What? Jim looks pale. Those were our private photos. And what do you think that I was going to do with them? Idiot! He crouches to his knees, holding his ears. Murdoch is covering his mouth. I'm in those pictures, Holly. How could you do that? Yeah. Jim nods, as if confirming something to himself as his mind races. Yeah, that's right. If I go down, so does he. You wouldn't do that to your own brother. I didn't think that I would consider doing it to you, yet here we are. You have to get rid of those pictures, Holly. This is stupid. This is mean. None of this is even going to get us out of this town. I don't know why you're panicking. You're not in any real danger, Murdoch. Do you know how many times Mom has gotten you out of trouble? No. More times than I can count, and more times than I'm sure that she's been willing to share. Don't you know how many people in town already know what you are? You're safe. Please just trust me. And please somebody cast the first stone if I'm lying about any of this. We hear a loud thud and see Holly's frame shift sideways. She's shrieking. My arm! Who the hell did that? To be continued. I would have hit her too. Oh, Jesus, poor Murdoch. I mean, Jim kind of deserves it, but poor Murdoch. That's fucked up. Like, to have a family member use something as private and, well, that against, well, not even against you. That's the messed up part. Jesus. Anywho. Well, this is gonna be a 2-parter, obviously, so I don't know where I'm gonna cut it. Obviously, I do have to cut out the foursome scene, and I'm gonna make sure to basically explain what happens in that area, so you guys know more or less what happens and why Jim is so upset with Murdoch, or, well, not upset with Murdoch, upset with Holly because of what Murdoch did. So yeah, I just have to remind myself to do that. But wow. Anyways, so yeah, a lot to unpack. Well, I guess I'm thankful that Sam did stand up for Murdoch a little bit, at least, even though Murdoch would have probably wished that Sam didn't. But, you know, it had to happen, you know, sooner or later. Anyways, so yeah, write down in the comments what you think about this update so far that officially puts Murdoch in chapter 3 of his route. So I think everybody is up to chapter 3. So that means that we're past the middle part, or at least that we're at the middle part going forward. So I guess there would probably be just like a chapter 4 and chapter 5 left. We'll have to see. You could probably just ask George, but you know, you guys will have to see. Anyways, so yeah, write down in the comments what you think, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play the Smoke Room yourself, you can find it over on itch, and you can find a direct link to it from the Echo Project Twitter page, which I will link down in the description, as well as the Patreon in case you want to support the project and get early access to builds of the Smoke Room, as well as other of their projects like Glory Hounds, I think it's called Play Your Role now, and any other little thing that they release. Yeah, I think that's it. And I know that Ad Astra and Terra is gonna be is gonna go back on the schedule soon, because I think that the only thing that Arches needs to finish is just the CGs that Paint Fox is doing. So yeah, woo. So yeah, you have that to look forward to, especially if you subscribe to the Patreon. Anyways, but I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.